what is scaling? So how can we use our AI models at our companies? How we bring the value on the ground? What are the pitfalls and what are principles which you can use also for your company, for your enterprise, in order to leverage the value of these AI applications? Quick introduction. As Mario already mentioned, I'm leading the data science practice in the DACH region, so Germany, Austria, Switzerland, where I'm having roughly 120 data scientists in my team who are delivering projects at our clients, so mostly large enterprises in all industries, so coming from the financial service, public service, health service, telco service, and so on and so forth. And having here some kind of consolidation, what we're seeing on the market in Europe, but also global, and what are the lessons learned. So just one question. Do you know who Accenture is? So who knows that? A couple of hands, okay. Oh, that's a lot. So just a quick intro. So we are not a startup, I would say. So we are the largest consulting company global. So we have roughly 740,000 people delivering consulting services globally. In Austria, we are roughly now 2,000, 2,500. And a subgroup here with roughly 100 people are focusing on data and AI in general. So let's get started. A cool sentence, data is the new oil. Everyone knows that, right? Many companies are collecting data, they are storing the data, they have it in their mainframes, probably on the host. The key question is, collecting data is one thing, but really using the data day by day, doing decisions with data is a different story. And I think that's the key message. Data is unequal information. That's the reason why we need data engineers. That's the reason why we are needing data scientists in order to transform the data, unstructured data probably, into consumption-level value or information snapshots where we then can use it for our decision making at the end. And this sounds quite easy and stupid, to be honest, right? I mean, everyone would say yes. The thing is that many companies are really struggling with that kind of approach. So they're having data, they say we are data-driven. Everyone would say that because we're using Excels and using those kind of data for our decisions. But at the end, so really data-driven in the sense like we would understand it here in the group. It's not so mature at the end. And it's not working. Exactly. So what we have done at Accenture was we made a survey about 1,500 C-level executives globally. And we've asked them in our Ready, Set, Scale study, so what is your point of view at your organization? How you would say how mature you are with respect to AI, how mature you are with respect to data-driven company. And I think the first result is not quite surprising. So 84% of executives say that they must scale AI to achieve their growth objectives. So usually you will not find a C-level who is saying, okay, data is not needed in my company, it's not relevant for us. AI is a bit of a different story, yes, but as you can see, the market is thinking in the right direction. But what is really horrible is the KPI on the right side that you can see here. So 76% of executives acknowledge they know how to build pilots, so proof of concepts, prototypes, proof of values and pilots, so first productionization, but they struggle to scale AI. So they're doing it in your silos for one application, but really when you think about building 20 models and bringing them quite fast into the business of this company, so there is a huge gap. And actually, why is that like that? So one reason is that we're usually thinking about capabilities. We're thinking about data science. We're thinking about AI, machine learning, visualization. Then we're thinking about departments. So having a process over departments is always horrible because there are many people have to talk to each other, which is usually not working in large enterprises. And I think this is some kind of shift also from our type of work that we should think, and I've seen also these terms already in a couple of slides before at other talks. I mean, it's business, it's value, it's objectives, paired with culture and also processes, technologies. And this is really core. So really, when you think about data science, usually, traditionally, the IT, because we're doing something with software. I don't know why. But then we're already in a silo, which is very huge gap to the business departments. Usually, it's traditionally, we can also say. And I think this is also one thing from our data science perspective, not only to get use cases and to deliver them, but also coming with ideas to the business owner, to multiple business owner, to identify business owner where it might be relevant. And then the first question is, of course, how should I do that? And we'll come to that later on. Before we are starting, we also made a second survey the AI maturity survey, which was a globalist survey again, but also with a focus on Europe, where we have made some kind of benchmarking. So we've asked the industries, the companies there, where would you see yourself with respect to AI maturity 2021, and then also where you see yourself in the next 3 years. So what is your ambition? Where do you want to go? Which is then here on 2024, the right side. And I think it's not quite surprisingly. So the technology is quite mature. When you think about all the products which are out there who are using some kind of specialized software, AI is quite often in there, right? When you're using your iPhone, I mean, there's a lot of AI already inside, and we're using it day by day, for instance. But there are some kind of industry laggers, to be honest, where we see some kind of question marks, I would say. So why are they there? Financial services on one hand, but also healthcare. I mean, healthcare, we are seeing there is some kind of regulation, ethical aspects. You have to be careful, of course, what you're doing with the data. So you would say it's not a surprise that they are a bit laggers with respect to AI. But financial service, and this was also for me a bit of surprise, is also there. So when you think about banking, it's currently here, insurance is there, so it's not on the top positions at the end, which is a huge surprise. Because when you think about what is the core business, banks, I mean, it's loans, right? They have risk departments, a long history. When you think about AI, about statistical modeling, and so on and so forth, as well as insurance, so actuariat, for instance, they are doing a lot of analytics there. We would call it probably AI, but it's just a different name at the end. But the core message is that they are having really struggles for transforming it from their core businesses to the whole enterprise. So when you think about increasing efficiency in customer service center, bank has something like that, insurance has something like that, and so on and so forth, doing really this transformation from one department who is highly focused on some kind of specific topic to all other departments is really something where there is a lot of room to grow at the end. So, what are the critical success factors? And the first one, and these slides are really easy to consume, and you would say, yeah, that's quite obvious. And I'm pretty sure that not so many here in the room also doing it. So, your business strategy is your AI strategy. And we had 2 hours before to talk about when I'm a startup, which kind of use cases should I do? So my question would be, what is your business strategy? What do you want to achieve in the next year, in the next 2-3 years? Is it selling your product? Is it being more efficient, probably, because you already have some kind of inefficiency? So what is really your core business strategy? And each large company has written down the top 3 or 4 priors. You can see them on the web page. You can read them also in different newspaper articles when C-levels are having some kind of interviews. So really focus on that. Why? Because the money is there. If a C-level says, yeah, I want to be more efficient, I want to, I don't know, automate more, let's go to the departments and discuss some kind of automation use cases, because then we'll get some feedback like, yeah, let's spend the money there because we're getting exactly the right amount of value out that we would need for our strategy. So that's really one core aspect. Of course, knowing the business strategy is one thing, but then transferring it also to the AI strategy. So what do I need? The use cases which are going in that direction, but of course also other aspects like technology, processes, and people, what we've heard already before. And I think one key aspect is then to create a roadmap, really to be in line with the top priorities. So in a nutshell, one sentence, and you know how to do it at the end. What is the second success factor? We know people. Establish the right talent mix. So if you hire 100 data scientists, you will not succeed. You need a clear mixture of technical experts, but also business experts who understand the business. What we are often seeing is we have data scientists, they're sitting in the IT, and they never heard anything about telcos, for instance, and they should deliver telco use cases. So they will also fail. You need some kind of business know-how also in your data departments, data science departments. Time to market is also key. When you think about capabilities, proof of concept, proof of value, so what would you estimate should be roughly the timeline for first rapid prototype? What would be your guess? Is it a couple of weeks, a couple of months, half a year? So where's it about? Weeks. Exactly, so 6 to 8 weeks, nothing more, it's time boxed at the end. So business doesn't want to wait half a year for first prototype. In half a year, someone else has fixed the problem probably. So you will have to be fast you really have to see what's the time to market and bring the value out of it. And this could be of a proof of value already. So you do not need a full end-to-end implementation of your IT system, probably also with some kind of process changes at the end. So this is really a key factor. And also reuse before buy and buy before build. It also sounds quite easy. And there are use cases where you wouldn't build it on your own. If you think about language translation, no one would build a model now for language translation, for instance. But when it comes to other use cases, it's not so easy to separate at the end. If there is something already out there are thousands of vendors, of course, and if it's really applicable to your own situation. And I think this is then also one super relevant KPI when you think about, is your company data-driven? And here we have separated between the laggard groups and the strategic scalers. And as you can see here, appropriate level of users' organization experience with AI. That doesn't mean that they should have a PhD in mathematics, for instance, but they should understand what the model is doing in a rough way and how I can use at the end the corresponding output. And as you can see here, I think that's really a large gap. So half of the employees know what an AI is and how to use it and how to bring the value then into business processes. And I think that's also a cultural change, which goes also hand in hand with some kind of new AI application. Then the next thing is governance. I would say not the fun part for us as a data scientist, right? We want to build products, we want to use the data. And also when you think about core AI values, ethical aspects and explainable AI, when you compare it 5 to 6 years back, there was not much noise about ethics, right? We were happy that we have built something. It goes in the same direction of transparency. So a couple of years back, you've predicted a yes or no flag, a spam filter, for instance. Now it's changed. Now the next question is, okay, understood, but why? So explainability is core, and also the ethical aspects are core. When you think about GDPR, but also the European AI Act. And this is really something which changed tremendously in the last couple of years. So here you should be prepared. I'm not saying that you should start with it, and then with the use cases, I would see the parallel and also work in progress the whole time, and create and publish an ethical data and AI manifesto. Sound a bit too much, but at the end you need to just some kind of principle guidance, which is written down and which you can then follow at the end. And then value realization, we also had a lot of value here and there. I think key is, as mentioned before, time to market. So please do not tune your models or try new algorithms. No one cares about that at the end. If you're spending another 4 weeks to just increase your KPI for 1%, no one is interested into it. And that's really one key message. Choose your use case, appropriate, create a roadmap, create the first rapid prototype in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. No one cares, but it should be fast. And then use it in a piloting phase production here. That doesn't mean that you have to implement it in a Java application or stuff like that. When you think about sales generation, lead generation, probably it's like that you're using the model, you're generating it, then you're having a stupid Excel file, which you're sending then to the corresponding sales manager. Nothing more. You can then collect the feedback and you see what are the results. And you will learn so much more when you're in production or close to production than all the stuff around. So if you would ask me, should I spend another 2 weeks for improving my model, when I'm having already a good stage, of course, I would rather say, no, go to production, use these 2 weeks in order to get some kind of feeling. What is the feedback from the agent, from the end user? Is it behaving like that? Do we have some kind of blind spot? And so on and so forth. And then, if it's fine, go ahead and implement it into your whole application. And these are just the messages that I want to give to you. Quite simple, quite easy, you would say. But if you follow that in your organization, you're really far ahead of the market. So your business strategy is your AI strategy. Quite easy. Get your team ready. So quite heterogeneous. Different aspects, not only IT, it should also be business and other areas. Build responsibilities, that's also clear, and bring it to production, fast and efficient. And that's more or less everything which I want to give to you today. I know we have a lot of content and it's really hardcore, but I think this slide, if you follow that, you will succeed with your journey. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lukas, for your great talk. I can really relate to many of your key points. From the audience, do you have some questions. Are there any questions from the audience? So, okay, maybe I start. Lukas, so you, or do we have?
Yes.
Okay.
To clarify, you mean scalability. You also involve the aspect of scaling the model, or it's just about going to production? So what I mean is that initially you do the model, quick prototype, but then scalability comes with the data.
I also had a discussion beforehand about how can we scale models, right? And it really depends. If you're an organization where you see a lot of potential for AI in each department, for instance, I would rather go with this approach that you're having some kind of common architecture which you then copy-paste in a certain sense. That means on one hand, the data should be somehow in an alignment that you can reuse it quite fast and easy, but also when you bring in model in production, like 20 models, 30 models, build some kind of framework around with just then a click and it's fully automated at the end, also with tests and monitoring and so on and so forth. So this is something which is one thing. Of course, when you're an organization where you just see, okay, it's relevant for one department or a second one, then the question is, why don't you buy some kind of a product which has some kind of lightweighted version also into it, where scaling is maybe more hands-on and then bringing more models in that direction. But this is something which you should discuss, of course, based on your experience in the company.
Are there any other questions? So maybe I have one because I relate to your first point, critical success factors. And you said business strategy, the data strategy is actually the business strategy. And I can relate so much to it because I've seen from time to time, let's try this POC, let's do this kind of thing, let's try this out, but not, seeing the whole picture. But how do you approach clients or convince them that maybe the question is a bit deeper and should be integrated also to the business strategy?
So at the end, you have your targets. In a good case, you're also having some kind of KPIs which the company wants to achieve. Then it's even better to measure, because when you measure it, you know where you can tackle that accordingly. And for me, it's always quite helpful when I'm coming to a new organization to understand who are the key stakeholders, where are the business strategies, to which C-level it belongs, and then you have a department below, where you can get a good understanding what they're doing the whole time, and then it's just experience to propose accordingly the use cases that you're having. And for many corporate functions, it's just a cross-layer, right? You're having some kind of use case repertoire which can be applied to each case, and then you have specific topics where it's a not so easy way to go more into the details accordingly. But that's clear from top down, the approach at the end.
Okay, so then to make sure that you get the broad picture and it gets really integrated. So again, Lukas, thanks for your great talk.